My name is Chelsea Austin. I am an associate attorney at Miller Johnson. So today I want to talk to you guys about racial justice and specifically how students in university and high school settings can be allies in the classroom. So what is racial justice? At a high level, the fight for racial justice is a call for systematic, fair treatment of all people of all colors. This is resulting in the equitable opportunities and outcomes for all people. As the National Educational Association explains, racial justice is not just the absence of discrimination or inequality. Instead, it is the presence of deliberate systems and support to achieve and sustain equity through proactive and preventative measures. There are an increased number of racial discrimination instances in schools, and it's not just because of the last couple of years, but because of the advent of social media and the increase of people using social media and the internet. These instances that have been relegated to the shadows in the past have been brought to light. And that can be a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because people need to see that racial injustice and instances of discrimination is not new and have not gone away. However, people are becoming more emboldened because of the way that these things have been characterized and displayed in the media. So I like to think of racism in three different buckets: overt racism, covert racism, and microaggressions. So what's an overt racism? This is the intentional, obvious, harmful attitudes or behaviors directed at a group of people of minority status or people of color. These are the quintessential racist acts, the hate crimes, the Jim Crow laws. They are so in your face and obvious, you know what the racist act is and who's perpetrating it. In today's age, overt acts of racism are not as commonplace as some of the other buckets. Covert racism is the racial discrimination that is concealed or subtle rather than obvious or public. A key feature of covert racism is its disguised nature. This allows perpetrators to claim plausible deniability. In doing this, it's hard for victims to identify what the racist act was or who the perpetrator was because it's so subtle. Lastly, microaggressions. These are the brief and commonplace daily verbal, behavioral, or environmental indignities, whether intentional or unintentional, that communicate beliefs of hostile or negative racial slights or insults towards people of color. These are the instances at work if you're wearing your hair natural and your coworkers are saying, "Were you electrocuted last night?" or "What's going on with your hair?" Do they mean to be racist? I'm not sure, but you still feel that tinge in your heart. These are the death by 1,000 cuts, where every time this happens, it builds up until next thing you know, it's a hostile work environment. So what would you do if you, in your classroom, experience an example of overt racism, covert racism, or a microaggression? What if this was happening to someone in the classroom next to you? Would you say something? Would you say nothing? Would you offer a lending hand? The need for an ally in the classroom is important because doing the hard work of defending yourself or others is exhausting. Doing the hard work of defending yourself against a perpetrator who may be the teacher in the classroom is exhausting and can have a negative impact on your education. Being an ally doesn't require you to fight the teacher or anything like that. Sometimes it's just raising your hand and saying what you're saying is wrong and what you're doing is harmful. Sometimes it's asking the person after class if they're doing okay, or circling back to the teacher if you're not comfortable saying it in front of the whole classroom. Here's why what you're saying is wrong or what you said was inappropriate. Again, a lot of times you will not see the overt acts of racism in the classroom, but when you do, I hope you are the kind of person that would say, I'm an ally and what is happening is wrong and I will report it. If it's the subtle version of covert racism or even a microaggression, standing your ground and saying, I know what I know and I know what I saw and this is inappropriate will go a long way. So today we learned a lot about what racial justice is, instances of racial injustice in the classroom and in the work environment, the three different levels of racism: covert, overt, and a microaggression, and how to be an ally in the classroom, and specifically the need for an ally in the classroom. So I hate to do this to you, but I would love to give you some homework. I want you to do some more continued learning on racial justice. I'm going to give you 3 options of reading, and I hope that you take this time to read and understand and use this reading and learnings in your daily lives. So the 3 books are The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown, and Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Thank you for listening to me. I know these conversations are difficult and uncomfortable, but the more we have these conversations, the more comfortable we will become in standing up for ourselves and others, and the more we will let perpetrators know that this kind of behavior is not tolerated. Thank you.